Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Daily Fantasy Digest Podcast, the all-inclusive podcast where we talk all things fantasy sports to help give you an edge. It is currently July 26th, Friday, massive 14-game slate here that we're going to be breaking down on the podcast. Quick recap of yesterday. Breakdown absolutely killed it. Indians, a couple homers, Lindor, everything was great. Even the way LeBlanc didn't turn out too bad. Barrios was pretty well against the White Sox as well. Overall, great day. Cashed for me in all the contests that I was in, so hope everybody benefited off of that breakdown. Now, before we get into this slate, just want to let you guys know that the pre-draft for the Daily Fantasy Digest Fantasy League will be posted next week. It'll be a breakdown, and everything should be good with that. There will be a bunch of information coming out about the league, how everybody can stay tuned and follow and potentially win some prizes as well. So stay tuned for that on the Twitter that you'll hear at the end of the video. It's also in the description down below. So stay tuned for that. Now, let's jump into this breakdown here. Pitching is going to be key on this slate, and I think that there's a lot of edge to be had because there's a lot of pitchers in good spots. I think that we can really manipulate who we want to play here. We see three pitchers above 10K, Greinke, Lynn, and Ryu. I think Ryu's in the worst spot of the three. I think Lance Lynn's in an incredible spot here going up against Oakland. If we just look at his numbers here, he's just been incredible this whole year, to be honest. Last time against Oakland, struck out 8, only gave up 2 runs. But I'm really after Zach Greinke here tomorrow going up against Miami. His home numbers have just looked, or his away numbers have not looked good in some of these matchups. Especially the most recent here against St. Louis. But I think this is a bounce-back performance here going up against terrible Miami offense here. I think this is definitely a great spot for Greinke tomorrow. If you're looking to pivot, Michael Pineda is a great pivot off of Lance Lynn or Zach Greinke at the top pitching spot. But my next favorite spot here is going to be Joey Lucchesi. He's just a really good pitcher. He's a lot of stuff that he can throw. This last matchup here against the Cubs might throw a lot of people off. But the home numbers have looked pretty well. I mean, if we look at the start of the season, a couple 20s, higher teens. I think Lucchesi is in a great spot as San Francisco has a lot of lefty hitters that I think are going to really struggle with Lucchesi's pitching here. I think it's definitely a good choice to go lower at one of the pitchers here. But there is definitely 3 spots for bats I want to target, just like yesterday. 2 main ones for me. One thing that doesn't make sense is that Dylan Cease is 7.8K. I think that he's given up 4 earned runs in 2 out of the last 3 games. And if we just go ahead and look at what's been happening, Minnesota's been on an absolute just this terror, just steamrolling through everybody. So I really want to attack this Minnesota Twins lineup here. I think you can find some super solid value here, especially in Jorge Polanco, that is for some reason only 4.5K. Marwin Gonzalez at 3.7K, which is just incredible to me. And then Max Kepler is just in an incredible spot for me as well. So I really want Max Kepler. I would like to get as many, lefties in as possible. I know Marwin's a switch hitter, and so is Polanco. But, look at Polanco's numbers here. Against the Yankees, he had 2 bombs. Nelson Cruz hit 2 yesterday against the White Sox. I think there's an incredible spot here tomorrow, and I think that these 3 guys are the low-hanging fruit, especially Marwin Gonzalez, who's 3.7K. It's just honestly a joke. So for me, I think at least 3 of these guys is just an incredible spot. Now, second favorite stack here is going to be St. Louis Cardinals, who've been they've been dominating recently. It's just been incredible to watch. But there's two guys minimum that I need here. I really need Tommy Edman. I need to move something around here. Let me move something here. I need to get Colton Wong at 3.8K. Tommy Edman's third base eligible. I need to get Colton Wong, Tommy Edman, and then put back Marwin Gonzalez, who's outfield eligible. I think St. Louis here is really crucial. I think that this is a very crucial spot for St. Louis. And the last person that I really want to get in here is going to be hitters. Paul Goldschmidt, who's just been incredible lately. I mean, look at this: 4 homers back-to-back games against Pittsburgh. It's crazy how good of a streak that he's on right now, and not to mention that he's actually dropped $100 for this matchup here against Houston. Jose Urquidy is just terrible. I mean, if we just go and look at the numbers really quick, he's dead last. I mean, he's down here for a reason. I mean, this last matchup here against Texas was a little bit of a fluke for me, but I mean, negative and then 8.1. I don't see that happening here. His away numbers here are nothing to be shied away from. And there was a 9-8 game, so I definitely want 3 of these St. Louis guys. Over-under is currently at 9, so I expect it to jump as well. Now, to mention for the last stack, I think Detroit is in a great spot here. I really do. I think if you have the space and you don't want to stack as many St. Louis players, Nicholas Castellanos, Jacoby Jones, Nico Goodrum, all of those guys are in play. I know Detroit's definitely not a team that you stack, but Yusei Kikuchi has just been god-awful, just dreadful this entire year. So I definitely think that you could take the Tigers as a great stack to kind of, get some low-hanging value. Now, as always, team low-price catcher here leaves you with 4.3K for an outfielder. You could get somebody from the Red Sox series. You could get, whoever you want, to be honest. 4.3K is incredible to be able to have for an outfielder, because I'm going to take Jeff Mathis out, but I will continue paying 2K for, we're a team low-price catcher here. It's minimum price 2K for a catcher who just has to take a hit and it's value. So for me, I'm going to take Jeff Mathis 100% because I know he'll play. And then 4.3K for an outfielder is just easy for me. So at this point, this is roughly what my lineup's going to look like come lock tomorrow. I know for pitching, it's going to be Greinke and Lucchesi. I think they're both in the best spots possible. Cash and GPP viable. And then for bats, Minnesota is going to be the highlighted stack here. Polanco, Kepler, and Gonzalez. And then St. Louis is a secondary stack going up against Jose Urquidy. St. Louis has just been going on a hot run. Tommy Edman, Colton Wong, and Paul Goldschmidt are my top three guys that I really want tomorrow. I know a lot of people are going to overlook St. Louis as a stack, especially with the Red Sox-Yankees game going, but St. Louis is a dark horse stack because Jose Urquidy is terrible. He's so bad, especially on the road, so I definitely think St. Louis, with how hot they've been, returning home after destroying Pittsburgh in 4 straight games, is just going to be a great performance from them against Houston. So at this time, I'm going to make my dinger of the day call. So the dinger of the day call is going to be Max Kepler. Coming back in this series, I don't believe he's playing tonight just because of the pitching matchup, but he hit 2 homers in the past 4 games. I think this is a homer easy game for him against Dylan Cease and the White Sox in a pitcher-friendly ballpark at U.S. Cellular Field. So I think that Max Kepler is going to be an easy homer tomorrow. This is definitely what my lineup's going to look like come lock tomorrow as far as teams that I'm stacking. Not necessarily going to be the same players depending on when lineups come out, but this is a very rough idea because I think that this is, the teams are going to roll out these players. Polanco, Kepler, and Gonzalez, Edman, Wong, and Goldschmidt from the Cardinals, and then Minnesota Twins, of course. So keep that in mind that these are the 2 top teams to stack for me, and then Max Kepler being the dinger of the day call. So keep on a lookout for him. He's definitely somebody you're going to want to lock and load into all of your lineups tomorrow. So at this time, I appreciate everybody, showing support on the videos. Like and comment if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel. Head on over to Twitter. Follow us at FantasyDigest_, where you can stay up to date with all of the things regarding the podcast, as well as anything before a lock that we might tweet out. Stay tuned for that. Stay tuned on Twitter for any updates regarding the Fantasy League, as well as some upcoming giveaways. Hope everybody wins some money tomorrow and has some good luck with this breakdown. And as always, we'll see you for another breakdown on Saturday with the Daily Fantasy Digest podcast.